Today's session is Maxwell's equations. Maxwell deduced four fundamental equations for electromagnetic theory. So these equations are not derived by Maxwell. He formulated these four equations on the basis of four fundamental theorems. The first one is Gauss's law for electrostatics, second one is Gauss's law for magnetism, and the third one is Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, and the fourth one is Ampere's circuited law. So from these four theorems, he deduced four equations. So by using these four equations, we can solve any problems of electromagnetic theory. So these are the importance of Maxwell's equations. So in Maxwell's equations, there are four equations. Among the four equations, first two equations are steady state equations. Steady state equation means that equations are not varying with respect to time, or in that two cases we never consider the time factor. And the second and the third and fourth equations are known as time varying equations. So in that cases we consider the time varying electric field, or time varying magnetic field, or time varying magnetic flux, or time varying induced magnetic field. In such cases we can apply the third and fourth equations. So these are the Maxwell's equations. So the first Maxwell's equation. So the first equation is deduced from Gauss's law of electrostatics. We are all familiar that the Gauss's law of electrostatics, according to Gauss's law, the total electric flux through a closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by the surface. What's the meaning of that statement? First we consider a closed surface. So in a closed surface, if charges are there, so we are all know that the electric field lines are not closed loops. Closed loops in the sense the electric field lines originating from a positive charge and it ends in a negative charge. That is the concept. So the electric field lines exist between these 2 points. That means it has an originating point, it has a terminal point. So if you consider a closed loop, there are charges. So due to the presence of that charges, that electric field lines are originated. So there is an electric flux. So the total electric flux through the closed surface. What's the meaning of total electric flux? The total number of electric field lines passing through unit area. That is the total electric flux. So total electric flux through a closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by the surface. So we can write the statement in a mathematical form. The total electric flux, that is closed integral E dot ds. Closed integral E dot ds. Here E is the induced electric field. Closed integral ds represent the total electric flux of that surface. Then what is the meaning of E dot ds and E ds? If it is E ds, that means the area vector is along the direction of this electric field lines. If the area vector is tilted at an angle theta, then we can use E dot ds. So E dot ds is, we are all know that E dot ds is E ds cos theta. So if the area vector is tilted along an angle theta, then we can write this closed integral E dot ds is E ds cos theta. So that's the meaning of E dot ds. So we consider this E dot ds as the general representation. That means if the area vector is tilted at any angle, we can calculate the total electric flux. That's the meaning of closed integral E dot ds. So this LHS represents the total electric flux. That is equal to, the statement says that 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by the surface. That means 1 by epsilon 0 times charge enclosed means Q. 1 by epsilon 0 times Q. So here we represent this volume integral rho dV. Volume integral rho dV as charge enclosed by the surface, where rho is the charge density. So charge density means charge by volume. Charge by volume means Q by V. Then what is integral dV? Integral dV is volume itself. So we can cancel the volume in the denominator and this integral dV. So we get Q itself. So that is the meaning of volume integral rho dV. So volume integral rho dV is the charge enclosed by the surface. That is the meaning of this mathematical equation. So this equation 1 represent the mathematical representation of Gauss's law of electrostatics. So we can rewrite this equation by multiplying this epsilon 0 on the LHS. We get closed integral, this term, closed integral epsilon 0 E ds is equal to volume integral rho dV. But we know that this epsilon 0 E, that is the displacement, the electric displacement, that we are already explained in displacement current. So closed integral, instead of this epsilon 0 E, we rewrite this as D. So D dot ds is equal to volume integral rho dV. Then from Gauss's divergence theorem, we can rewrite this equation. So why we rewrite this equation? In equation 3, in LHS it is surface integration and in RHS it is volume integration. So for further solving the equation or by equating the coefficients of this integral, both the equations must be in the term of surface integral or in the term of volume integral. But here LHS is in the surface integral in the form of surface integral, RHS is in the term of volume integral. So here we convert this surface integral term, LHS term, into volume integration. For this, we take Gauss's divergence theorem. So what is Gauss's divergence theorem? Gauss's divergence theorem is closed integral d dot ds is equal to that is closed integral d dot ds is equal to volume integral of divergence of that function. Del dot d is divergence, del dot d dv. So we can rewrite the LHS in terms of this volume integral. So this equation becomes volume integral del dot d dv, that is equal to, here d dot ds changes to volume integral del dot d dv is equal to volume integral rho dv. So both the LHS and RHS are in terms of volume integration. So from this we can simply say that volume integral dv is v. In RHS also volume integral dv is v. So we can simply cancel v and v. Then the equation is del dot d is equal to rho. Del dot d means del of divergence of electric displacement, that is equal to charge density. This is Maxwell's first equation. So in this first equation there is no term which represent time. So this is a steady state equation. So the first equation is deduced from Gauss's law of electrostatics. Then we can go to second law. So Maxwell's second equation, according to Gauss's second law, we all know that the total magnetic flux, the net outward bound magnetic flux from any closed surface is zero. So what is the reason for the net magnetic flux is equal to zero? In the first law, that is in Gauss's law of electrostatics, the net electric flux is 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by the surface. But in the case of magnetic flux, it is the net magnetic flux is zero. What is the reason? So magnetic field lines, we all know that magnetic field lines are closed loops. Closed loops in the sense it has no originating point and it has no terminating point. We all assume that magnetic field lines are originating from the north pole and it goes to the south pole. Again, from the south pole it goes to the north pole. So it has no originating point and it has no terminating point. So these closed loops are these magnetic field lines are closed loops. So when a magnetic field line enters into a body, it leaves out from that body. So no magnetic field line stays there. But in the case of electric field lines are originating from positive charges and terminating at the negative charges. So there is a chance for electric field lines exist inside the surface. But in the case of magnetic field lines, no magnetic field lines exist inside the surface, because if a magnetic line enters into the body, it will completely leaves out. So we can mathematically represent the Gauss's law in magnetism as the total flux is integral B dot ds is equal to 0. So we can rewrite this equation in the form of Maxwell's equation. So we apply Gauss's divergence theorem in the LHS. Gauss's divergence theorem is used to convert the surface integral to volume integral. So we can, when applying Gauss's divergence theorem, this LHS becomes integral B dot ds is equal to volume integral del dot B dV. So this LHS of this equation, we can rewrite this as volume integral del dot B dV is equal to 0. So from this, integral dV is V. So V not equal to 0. Then the only chance is del dot B is equal to 0. That means divergence of induced magnetic field is equal to 0. This is Maxwell's second equation. So in this equation also there is no term representing time. So it is a steady state equation. It is not varying with respect to time. Then goes to Maxwell's third equation. So Maxwell's third equation is deduced from Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. What is Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction? According to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, the negative rate of change of magnetic flux linked with a circuit is equal to EMF induced in the circuit. What is the simple meaning of that statement? If a magnetic flux, a change in magnetic flux occurs, then a current, then an EMF is induced in that circuit. Then how much amount of EMF is induced, that is represented mathematically. So integral E dot dl, this is the EMF induced in the circuit. E is the induced EMF, integral dl represent the total EMF induced in the circuit, that is equal to negative rate of change of magnetic flux. Phi is the magnetic flux, dou phi by dou t is the rate of change of magnetic flux, and this negative sign represent the induced EMF is against the direction of this magnetic flux. So this is the mathematical representation of Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Integral E dot dl is equal to minus dou phi by dou t. So integral E dot dl is equal to minus dou by dou t of phi. Phi is the magnetic flux. So we can rewrite magnetic flux from Gauss's law in magnetism. Phi is equal to integral B dot ds. So the equation becomes integral E dot dl is equal to minus dou by dou t of, we rewrite phi as surface integral B dot ds. So here LHS is having line integral, but RHS having surface integral. So for further solving the equation, we have to make both the terms in terms of surface integration or in terms of line integration. So to convert this line integral to surface integral, applying Stokes theorem on the LHS. So we get integral E dot dl is equal to surface integral del cross E dot ds. So we can rewrite E dot dl in terms of this whole surface integration. So the LHS become surface integral del cross E dot ds is equal to surface integral. We take this term inside the integration, that is minus dou b by dou t dot ds. So we are all know that surface integral ds is the total area. So we can cancel the area term on both sides. Then the remaining term is del cross E is equal to minus dou b by dou t, where E is the EMF induced and B is the induced magnetic field. So this is Maxwell's third equation. So here we note one more thing. In the RHS, the term is minus dou B by dou T. That means B is varying with respect to T, and this variation is opposite to the direction of this induced magnetic field. So this equation is a time varying equation, not a steady state equation. So the third equation, the first time varying equation, is deduced from Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Then goes to Maxwell's fourth equation. So Maxwell's fourth equation is derived from Ampere's circuited law. What is Ampere's circuited law? Ampere's circuited law simply says that if a current is flowing through a conductor, if I be the current flowing through the conductor, so due to the flow of that current, a magnetic field is developed in the conductor. That is the Ampere's circuited law. So this Ampere's circuited law gives how much amount of magnetic field is developed or induced due to the flow of that current. That is the and this Ampere's circuited law derive the relation between these two factors. When current I flows through a conductor, how much amount of magnetic field is induced. So according to Ampere's circuited law, the line integral of magnetic flux density B around a closed path is equal to mu 0 times the current enclosed by the path. So this is the mathematical representation of Ampere's circuited law. Closed integral B dot dl. This LHS represents the total amount of magnetic flux or total amount of magnetic field developed due to the flow of this current I. So here this term mu 0, what's the meaning of this term? Mu 0 is the permeability of the medium. So due to the presence of this permeability, the total magnetic field is not developed due to the presence of this current I. So this mu 0 is called, it is identical to the resistive force which opposes magnetization. That is mu 0. So the total magnetic field induced is closed integral B dot dl, that is equal to mu 0 I. That means due to the flow of this current I, this much amount of magnetic field is induced, and due to the presence of mu 0, a small decrease of magnetic field occurs. That is the meaning. So we can we are all familiar that this B, we can rewrite B in terms of mu 0 H. So the equation becomes closed integral mu 0 H dl is equal to mu 0 I. But so we can cancel this mu 0 and mu 0 on the LHS. So the equation becomes integral H dl is equal to I. Then according to Stokes theorem, we can rewrite this H dl as surface integral del cross H ds. That means we have to deduce the fourth equation, the standard form of fourth equation. To get the standard form of fourth equation, we apply the Stokes theorem in the LHS. That is integral H dl changes to surface integral del cross H ds. Then the equation 1 becomes, we can rewrite this equation as surface integral del cross H ds is equal to I. Then here surface integral del cross H ds is equal to I. I is the current. So we rewrite I in terms of current density, that is integral surface integral J dot ds. J is the current density. So we are all familiar that current density is current by unit area, current flowing through unit area, that is called current density. That means simply we can write J by, if area is A or if total area is S, then J by S, then integral ds is final result is S. So we can cancel the surface area term in the denominator and this is, so we get the current itself. So we rewrite this current as surface integral J dot ds. So we get the equation as closed surface integral del cross h dot ds is equal to surface integral j dot ds. So both the terms are surface integration, represent surface integration. So we can write from this equation, we can write del cross h is equal to j. So this is the mathematical representation of Ampere's circuit law. But Maxwell state that this equation is inconsistent in some situations. So he verified his statement mathematically. So del cross h is equal to j. This equation 2 represent the mathematical representation of Ampere's circuit law. So from this equation, if we take the divergence of this equation, divergence means del dot del cross h. Del dot del cross h, if we take the divergence on the LHS, then we must take the divergence on the RHS also. So we get del dot del cross h is equal to del dot j. But from the equation of continuity, we know that del dot j is equal to minus dou rho by dou t. It is not equal to 0 because here del dot del cross h, this LHS, this term is a vector identity and the value of this LHS is equal to 0. If LHS is equal to 0, what is the meaning? This del dot j, the value of del dot j is equal to 0. But experimentally derived fact, the value of del dot j or experimentally derived fact is that del dot j is equal to minus dou rho by dou t. It is not equal to 0. This is the inconsistency of Ampere's circuit law. So from this statement, here dou rho by dou t represent charge density, rate of change of charge density. So this term represents a time varying field. This represents a time varying field. So from this statement here, according to Ampere's circuit law, we get del dot j is equal to 0. But del dot j is equal to minus dou rho by dou t is the experimental fact. So from these two controversies, Maxwell concluded that Ampere's circuit law is inconsistent and it is suitable only for steady state, means steady current, not for time varying current, because del dot j is equal to dou rho by dou t means it represents, dou rho by dou t represents rate of change of a quantity. That means that quantity is varying with respect to time. So from these two contradictions, Maxwell concluded that Ampere's circuit law is suitable only for steady state condition and not suitable for time varying conditions. Then he modified this inconsistency by introducing the term displacement current. So displacement current is a current which flows between the two terminals, between the two electrodes of the capacitor. So Maxwell introduced the concept of displacement current. So Maxwell modified the equation by introducing the concept of displacement current. Maxwell modified Ampere's circuit law by stating that there is one more source of magnetic field. So in Ampere's circuit law, we state that when current flows through a conductor, a magnetic field is developed. So Maxwell added one more point, that one more source of magnetic field is there. If current flows through the circuit, if that current varying with respect to time, that means if that electric field is varying with respect to time, that will be the reason for this magnetic field. So magnetic field is developed due to the presence of this time varying electric field also. So the current generated due to the presence of this time varying electric field is called a displacement current. So Maxwell modified Ampere's circuit law as this magnetic field is developed from two factors. One is due to the normal current flow, and the second magnetic field generation is due to the presence of displacement current. That is when electric field varies with respect to time, that will be the another reason for the development of magnetic field. So Maxwell modified the equation del cross H is equal to J. Del cross H equal to J is the Maxwell's Ampere's equation, Ampere's representation, Ampere's law. Del cross H is equal to J. Maxwell introduced one more term is there, that is JD, where this JD represent the current density of displacement current. Then take the divergence, the same steps again, take the divergence on both sides. So we get del dot del cross H is equal to del dot J plus JD. But this LHS is equal to 0, so the RHS become del dot J is equal del dot J plus del dot JD equal to 0. From this we can write del dot JD is equal to minus del dot J. So from this equation we can write del dot JD is equal to, we get del dot J. Del dot J is equal to dou rho by dou T. Here del dot JD is equal to del dot J. So from this we can write del dot J equal to dou rho by dou T. But from the first equation we can write dou by dou T is equal to del dot D. First Maxwell's equation is del dot D is equal to charge density rho. So we rewrite rho in terms of del dot D. So the equation becomes del dot JD is equal to del dot, we rewrite this as del dot as the first term of this operator del dot dou D by dou T. So we get the value of JD as del dot JD is equal to del dot dou D by dou T. So we can write JD is equal to dou D by dou T. So substitute the value of JD in the equation 5, we get del cross H is equal to J plus dou D by dou T. This is Maxwell's fourth equation. So the equations, Maxwell's four equations are del dot D is equal to rho, del dot B is equal to 0, del cross E is equal to minus dou B by dou T, and the fourth one is del cross H is equal to J plus dou D by dou T. Here also one time varying term, dou D by dou T. D is the electric displacement with respect to time. So this fourth equation is also a time varying equation. Thank you.